Hey, welcome. We are showing you today how we install a cushion for a VJ Charger. So we're starting off showing that this seat is it's been resprung, so it's new springs, new silent wires. That just shows you that, well, you're going to have like a new seat when this is done. It's new springs and new foam and new covers. That's what we're showing you here. What we're doing now is we are pulling the foam over the frame. Now it's a reasonably tight fit. We're putting it down with some springs to start with, some clips to start with. I think I'm showing you there, it's pretty important to install the seats centered. So we're centering the front of it there. You can see at the back there's a little mark we've put on the back of the metal frame, and we'll also match that with the back of the foam to make sure that's centered too. Centering them is pretty important later on when you put your seat skins on. You'll find that the pleats will line up quite easily between the cushion and the backrest if you've gone to the bother of centering the foam and then centering the seat skins when they go on. So that's what we're doing here. We're just showing you how to put them on. It's a reasonably tight fit to get these first pieces of calico down to the frame. It's tight because those are new springs. If you're not using brand new springs, it's going to be less tight here. Springs definitely get bedded in once you start using them, but initially they're going to sit quite reasonably firm, and that's just what it is. So get these bits of calico on the foam kit hovering down onto those rails on the seat frame at the start here, and that's the beginning of it all. So we get that on. It'll take you a few minutes to run around and do it, but it's worth doing it in this order. Now you don't need one of these tools. You can use your hand hoggering pliers just fine. And they do look. I can see putting a bit of effort in here. What you want to do here is you want to make sure that the foam is coming over and only just over the edge of the frame. So you don't want your covers touching metal around the edge. That's going to be covered by the foam. And once you've done that, I think we're showing you here centering up the foam with the frame. This is really important. Get this right now, and you'll have a really easy time aligning the pleats between the cushion and the backrest. So that's all good. We'll keep checking that later on as we proceed, but I think for now that's looking quite good. Now there we go. That's foam. That's we're just making sure that we like the feel of that, and it's going to be a lot more comfortable than it used to be, I'm sure. So now we're saying what we're going to do is we're going to use zip ties to help us install. We put them through from the underside of the seat foam. It just helps us to pull down the covers. The zip ties are here. So I think that's the thing that we do next. That is it. We're putting these up through. Now, excuse me if I can't remember everything. This actual video was recorded, I think, over 6 months ago, and I haven't got around to doing the narration until now. So I've forgotten a little bit of what I did here, but I'll do my best to keep up with this. So what we do now, the process here is to put zip ties through all three, the two side listing wires and the front one at the front of the seat. Tools you'd need for this would be a regulator, which is like that needle thing that you'll see me using in a moment, and it's just to sort of like open up holes in the hessian so that you can clear the way for a zip tie to go through. And what we do, we put them through here. There's 3 that go in the front one. Now the front one is really important. This is our datum. The way to work out where to put it, the front listing wire comes down on the front springs to the 5th wave back from the front if you need to locate it. So if you count from the front, you'd count 5 waves in that spring. It's the one that's also parallel with where those 2 silent wires are, or should be on yours anyway. But you'll find it's where the foam lines up to anyway with the springs. Now that's the first 3. What we do is we put the cover on at this point, and everything's kind of coming straight from the front listing wire being held down at the right point in the springs, and then from there, if we get that right, then we'll have a straight install. So what are we doing here? We're just getting ready to put that listing pocket down. Now again, zip ties are not a long-term strategy. Zip ties are an aid to install these seats. They all get taken out and get replaced with a hog ring. So a hog ring is, going to last. The zip tie, I wouldn't trust it in the seat to last any particular length of time until it gave up. So don't install the zip tie and go, oh wow, great result, and then put the rest of your seat together. Make sure that you do replace them with the hog rings as you install it. So that's what we're doing there. We're making sure that we've got everything centered. So you see, I don't know if you can make it, there's a little notch in the front of the cover. If you can see, at the very front seam there's a little notch, and that's the center notch. It will line up with the middle of the center pleat, and you also line this up. The front of the foam is made into pieces with a glue line in the middle. If you line that up with the middle of the frame, and then you line the center notch in the cover up with that point, and if you do those things, your cover will be going on pretty dang straight, and you should have no issues with pleat alignment later on. That being said, as you install, you can keep on checking with your other piece as well to see how they line up. But that's what we do now. We're putting fast forward to save a bit of time here. That's 3 zip ties through. They're not tight and super tight here, but they're pulling that listing pocket down into the gap where it goes, and that's going to help to align the 2 side listings as well, because they'll need to be sitting in the right place, dependent on where this pull gets them to. So that's the start. So you can see now this is the beginning. Everything now is going to follow from here. I'm going to put these two wires in. I think we've already got the wires in those pockets. I also, a little tip I use is I use a zip tie just to hold the listing wires into the pockets. You don't need to. Often we don't need to do that. I just to be 100% sure they're not going to move during installation. So there we go. I think I'm just checking things are centered. Checking that I like where these pockets are going to go down, and that's a good step to do. Make sure that everything's going to be okay. Now, when you get there and you're happy with the front pull of that listing wire, it's time to do this, which is put a bunch of zip ties through from the back of the underside of the seat, and pull down those 2 side listing pockets. So again, just take your time here. It's a tedious job, but this isn't a particularly hard job. Just keep poking them through. Probably every 3 waves in the spring is adequate. Maybe 4 or 5 zip ties per side, that will be totally enough. You could probably do it on a lot fewer if you really wanted to. So I'm using that little pair of snips there. They've got a nice little pointy end, so I use those to poke through the listing pockets to, just pierce them a little bit so that I can put the zip tie through. I like them because they're not super sharp, which means there's no risk of me accidentally cutting into a seat skin. Like if you had a sharp blade out here, there's always that little off chance, you just it'd be easier to do if you had a really sharp Stanley knife or something. You could easily slip and put a cut in your seat skin. So that's, you'll work it out. But by all means, that's one warning: don't have anything too sharp just sitting around here, because you don't want to do an accidental cut. So we'll put those zip ties through now. What are we going to do? We're going to start pulling them down at some point. Now, I think at this point I'm talking about the corner of the frame. Now, that corner of the frame, I like to wrap something around it. I should use a little bit of leather and glue it around the edge there. You don't have to use leather. You could use felt or something. You don't even have to use anything if you really don't want to. Factory didn't. But it just makes it a little bit nicer to go around. The corner of the frame has got to make it over that pointed corner at those two back edges of the seat, and it's also got to clear the prong, and then we've also got to get a hole cut into the seat skins for that prong to go through. So there's a few things going on there, and it's an easy place to make a mistake and get it wrong. So what we're doing now is we're just making sure we're happy with how the seat skin is going to sit on the foam. So we can see what you want to do. You see that glue line where which goes right around the perimeter of the top of that cushion. The French, not French seam, it's VH, but where that pipe is sort of where you want the glue line to be, and the glue line sort of sits underneath that pipe that goes around the perimeter, and that's sort of good. So that's what we'll just do. We were checking that. Now we're okay. We know that's good, and we're trying to get the corner over the back. So it's a bit of a it's a little bit of a wrestle here, but you get it over, stretch the thing down, and you can see how that prong is stretching the seat skin out. And I know I've gone off camera here, but I'm trying to get back on to show you. We want to make sure that we're happy with where we've got the back of the skin too. So there's that stitch line at the back that sort of sits almost at the very what's the word, at the very cusp of that bar at the back going right across. And again, I apologize for getting off camera here. That's not going to show you much when I don't even put it in front of the camera, but I'm doing my best. Now, clips like that are really handy. They can hold things in place while you work out if this is where you want things to go to. Now, that set I'm showing you here, this is one of the Charger seats, which has got the two prongs. It's got the one big prong on each side, which is where the which stops the hinge, where the hook clips over, and it's also got this little prong which stops the seat going too far forward when flipped forward. Now, only some of them had this. This was a VJ. I don't know if maybe the frames were originally VH. I can't even tell you because I don't know. Got them spare frames. But that's what we're doing here. We're stretching the cover over. Again, go slow and be really careful here, because once you make the hole, you've made it. You're going to have to live with what you've done here. So you've got to stretch it out and make sure that you're pretty happy with where everything's going to sit. Okay, so I'm stretching it out here. I'm checking that the profile of the seat skin is matching the profile of the frame. I'm checking that where there's a little listing pocket. There's a little pocket with listing wire at the bottom as well, and Anyway, I was obviously happy with where that went to, and the way that I put the hole in is when I get it to the right place, I pull it taunt over, whack it with a hammer, and it just makes a nice little hole, and your thing comes through. Now, that's the first side done. Again, the next step is the other side. We have to do the same thing. As you can see, there's the 2 prongs there too. There's the bigger one that we just did, and there's the little one. Now later on we'll come and we'll do the same thing with a hammer to get that little prong through, but I don't do it at this stage. And again, most of the time your seat won't have that, because most Charger seats tend to only have the 1 prong. This is a little bit not common. It was actually a really good idea, because what it would do would be when you had the seat flip forward, it would the front of the hinge connects with that little front prong, and it stops the seats going too far forward, so the faces don't really rest on each other with much pressure, whereas most of them don't have that, and they can flip forward until the upholstery actually touches between the pieces. And it's not a big deal, but I thought the second prong's actually a useful little thing. Anyway, we were talking about prongs whilst we went and got that put through. So that's what you do. You get those back bits put in, and you do that before you bring the rest of the cover around. And after you've done it, it's actually a pretty straightforward process. These are a lot easier to put together than the backrest. So we'll get those bits done. That's the hard stuff sort of out of the way. This part here is sort of like a it's not really all that hard now. What you do is just what I'm doing here. You just sort of gather up slack and bring it over to the edges. You have a few passes of doing this, of course, and then once you're in the right place, you anchor them down with hog rings, and that's really how to put the cushion together. You've got to come back. Obviously, we've got to come back underneath all the listing wires and put hog rings in place of those zip ties. I think here I'm trying to show you also to one thing to watch out for is the pipe. Just make sure that the back of the pipe is folded the correct way around and hasn't got any sometimes the seam allowance, the back of the pipe can flip over the wrong way, and it's not the end of the world, but if you at this stage you've got the chance to make it all kind of sit nicely in the same direction, and it's well worth doing that. So it's just a process now of gently, little by little, going round. So you got to tighten that seat skin, and as you do it, the seat skin becomes inflated by the foam and by the springs underneath it, and you get your result. So now, also at this stage 2, you can insert these 2 listing wires which go into the pockets that are just inside under the the side apron pieces here. So the front hog ring, the front of the seat skin hog rings down is the same place where those hog rings that are holding the foam is at the moment. So you can see there's still quite a distance it's got to stretch to get on there, which it will do. And these side ones, we just put this wire in now. They attach to those little bars that are running the length of the sides, and I think you'll get a fairly good idea of what we do here. So, and you don't put these in beforehand because everything sort of has to move a bit, and you don't want a wire sitting there until this point. So that's what we're doing. What's going on here, I don't know. I think the wires, there we go, it's better. It's gone all the way through. Now at this point, be careful of these wires too. Make sure they don't protrude at the front. The last thing you want to do is put this wire on and have the wire sort of push into the seat skin at the front, so be mindful of that. And also what I should have already done here, but I hadn't until now, is check all your wires are straight in the frame. Who knows, like these frames have had a hard life, so something's pulled hard on them at some point and they're sitting a little bit bent out, so I'm just bending them back in, and that's really what you got to do. You need enough room here to be able to close a hog ring around them, and I didn't actually have that by the looks of it here, so we're just that was what was going on there. That doesn't usually happen, but you know, just be prepared. Now we want to put the front down first. Okay, so the front will go on, and then the two sides, and then the back. So we should be checking things are still centered, which I think we've already done here, but you want to check with the VJ in particular. You want to check the center of that pleat is matching the center of the glue line, and that is also matching the center of the frame. And if those things are all good, and you check the same thing at the back, then you're going to have a good straight install. Okay. The seats with new springs, and new springs will make it sit a little bit proud at first, and that's one of the reasons why this looks like such a big mission to pull down. Okay, but it's going to lead you to having a very comfortable seat, and after you've sat in it for a while, everything will just settle down nicely. If you're not using new springs and you're just using new foam, it should come up great. If you're not using new springs and you're not using new foam, I would be very surprised if your seat came up good. I would imagine it'll probably come up very, very baggy. You've got to at least do something with the old foam, which is, in my opinion, you should replace it. But hey, you know, people have got their way. Some people wrap old foam up with, you know, a 6mm wrap or something like that, and that can make them look good for a time. So anyway, that's what we're on about. So if you were doing this over old foam and old springs, this wouldn't even be tight. This would just flop over, and you'd have a very easy install, but you'd have a very you might not be all that happy with how it looks. So there we go. I'm not trying to upsell foam. Just saying. So that's what we're doing now. Now at this point, you want to check the alignment, which is what I'm doing here too. Check that's how we want it to be. There's 4 or 5 holes in the frame where the hog rings go here. Sometimes I like to take the hog ring that was holding the foam in out before I put the cover on. I just find it's a little tidier, but you don't have to. You can put 2 hog rings in next to each other. It's fine either way. So yeah, this is what we do. Get this held down at the front, and then we get it held down at the sides, and everything's hunky-dory. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. We're just pulling the hog rings out, the first ones in there. It's whatever you feel like doing here. You can leave it in. So they're pretty tight, but you'll see when it comes together, that's what you want. And you can't actually get a good looking, you can't get a result that really pops unless it's tight. So that's just how it's got to be. Alrighty, so we're still just bringing it down. And it's not hard to understand what goes on here. Hog rings will go on. Eventually all the zip ties will come out, and that's what we're going to do. Okay. So yeah, thanks for sticking with us this long. We're very close to having an installed seat. And if anybody does watch these videos and you do install your own seats, do let me know. It would be really good if people sent us, send us a photo or something of how you did. That would be really cool to see. And let us know if it works out the same as what we're doing here. So it's waiting for this guy to hurry up and put those hog rings on. This is really playing it at the real time speed. I probably could have sped this bit up, but that's what's done is done. I'm happy with that. Look at that result there, That's looking good now. You see how it starts to kind of really tighten up. So we still don't even have those sides or the back pulled down yet, and we don't even have the listing wires pulled, super tight with hog rings yet either. So it's just going to keep getting tighter and tighter. So the next step is to just come and hold those sides down, and it's you probably should hold them down with clips first, just to hold the clips down to make sure you like where everything's going to sit. Check that the front of that listing wire isn't sticking out too far forward. Okay, that's a little thing to watch out for. Just always check that's. You don't want to push it too far back either, but you'll be able to feel like if you can feel the front of that wire poking into the cover, just move it a little bit back. And if it's a little bit too long, just cut a little bit off it. But you'll easily get that right. Then it's just a matter of pulling this down. I can't remember if I use clips or not, but I would recommend do use a clip. Just hold it in there, because it just lets you check that everything's going to be in the right place before you put it down. And this just will hold everything down to the correct position, and that's the job. So I think at that point it's looking quite good to me. I would start putting hog rings there, I reckon. So I think I'm feeling for that wire at the front now. That's pretty much the job. Now this is tight, okay, especially if you've got new springs on here. This is definitely going to feel quite tight when you're installing it. But you just deal with it. You use your weight, you lean into it and you push it down. Now I think that's good. And I don't know how many you'd use here. You'd probably use, say, 5 or 6 hog rings on each side, I reckon. Just put them where you think they're needed. And I'm watching me decide what to do here. I can't remember what happened, but look at that. See, there was a little bit there. The wire was a little bit too long. That's what's happening here. So we just chopped the back of it off. So if you find your wires poking out too much, you just cut that off. You don't want to leave a bit of wire sticking out and making trouble down the line. So that's that really. It's I don't know how many are on here. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at that, 6 of them are on there. So there you go. That's how many I use. 6 on each side. So that's cool. And yeah. And look at that, we've actually, small mercy, we've sped this one up so you don't have to sit through all of that. Now, the same thing is going on, exactly the same button and a lot faster speed. So we're just checking them hog rings down. Look at that, holding it down with clips, and here we go. So that's the game that we're playing here. And after that, look at that, it's looking even tighter again. So you want to give it a bit of a massage, make sure that you're happy with how the sides are sitting, how the pipe is rolling over the foam underneath and everything like that. Now at this point what we're doing is we're really pretty much just replacing the zip ties with hog rings here. So for most of them it's quite an easy pull. A few of them I've got long nose pliers. Occasionally you might want to use some long nose pliers to help you if you want to. Like at the back here, it's quite easy too. You can get your hand in and push up on the wire and bring it up to meet the springs. And once you've done most of that, you can just pull these zip ties, cut these zip ties off, and so yeah, you don't leave the zip ties there for the long term kind of thing. Okay, so this last few zip ties, removing those 3 from here, and I think all that we've got left to do after this is give it a bit of a massage. I've just got to put those holes in the side for the 2 little side metal prongs which you should see in a moment. Now that's more or less an installed cushion. So what are we going to do next? Probably call it done just about. That's looking quite good. There's no wrinkles. There's nothing really. All you do with the seat is you'd put it out in the sun and give it a sunbake. Now here we are. We're just putting this last, and look, you can't even see it on camera. Sorry about this, but what we're doing is we're just putting this last little metal prong through the seat skin. Okay, at the end of the install. Now most charger seats don't have this prong. Only some do. Don't ask me why. So that's now completely off camera. I didn't remember that it wasn't on camera, so we're just tapping where that seat skin was with the end of the hammer just to break the vinyl through, and you'll see now, and I'm trying to show you, I'm not even in front of the camera. There we go, that's what, now it's on the camera. That little prong there, some seats have got one of those just to stop the hinge as the seat slip forward from sitting too far forward, and that's all that is. So that's no big deal. If you've got one, just break through it like we did there, and that's that. And there we have an installed cushion for a VJ Charger. Now let's see if I'm going to show you anything else here. I think that's really all there is to show. It's got a good lot of bounce. That would be a comfortable seat. You've got springs and foam are replaced, so the seat's just going to feel like it's new. There's not much more to do with that. Like I say, you give it a sunbake if it had a few wrinkles. That doesn't